love it, man!
Alright, The Hawk recently reviewed 2 out of the 3 horror films starring Kurt Angle and directed by Bruce, whatever his name is. And they both sucked. And this might not surprise you, but it's not going to get any better going forwards. In fact, it might be a lot worse, because the final film I have saved is the oldest one, so no learning from past mistakes with this one. It's Endgame from 2009. This film also has the lowest budget of the 3 with an estimated $200,000. Let's wrap this obvious money laundering scheme up. I'm sick of watching these piles of bird turd. Oh look, Angle co-stars along Jenna Morasca. What a TNA signing she was. It's time to watch Endgame. The film starts with Perk Angle staring out of a window. His eyes glisten in the moonlight. He's playing a character called Alex. The girl that he's with asks why he took her to such a cheap hotel. They are lovers. Kurt tells her she has a beautiful ass. She responds saying that she loves it when he calls her beautiful. He said your ass was beautiful, not you, you dumb bitch. Kurt the Olympic pervert takes pictures of her and at the same time asks about an old man that he saw her with recently. She reveals that she has a sugar daddy. Perk wants to know his name and she eventually coughs it up. Whoa, okay, wasn't expecting this. I'm going to have to be careful with my words and what I say because basically Kurt cuffs her and we're forced to watch an Angle making love scene. It's quite sickening to watch. Nobody wants to see Angle's O-face. He kills her somehow. I mean, they don't show it. We cut to the investigators who take pictures of her body, and then we cut to the credits. Wow, what a start. I really don't think I want to see any more of this one. You know, sometimes I can overact a bit just for the purposes of my YouTube audience, but I don't want to watch this. But if you're sicker than me, this whole movie is on YouTube, but you'll have to be pretty deranged to sit through it. The cops are all standing around checking out her corpse. Their boss tells them off for doing this. Then the boss is in shock that someone would kill someone so beautiful, so he's checking her out too. The cops talk to a hotel manager who looks like trash. He reveals that the girl was a hooker because nobody ever comes to this hotel for the atmosphere. He wants the police to hurry up because he wants to rent the room out again. What a dick. At the girl's house, her roommate answers the door to Perk Angle in an oversized hat doing a fake accent. Who chose this outfit for him? He looks ridiculous. He tells the girl that her friend has been murdered and he's here to look for evidence. Come to think of it, all 3 of these films have been poorly lit, so probably not. Kurt takes her diary and leaves. But then, for some reason, he quickly makes a pass at the girl, asking if she likes Chinese food. Why would he expect that to work after just telling her that her friend is dead? The coppers moan for a while about how depressing their jobs are. They talk about other sexual murders they've witnessed. Great comedy line here. The cop says this killer sure sends them out with a bang.
Kinda sends them out with a bang, so to speak, huh?
Someone wrote some great one-liners in this film, I have to say. Maybe they should have done comedy instead of horror. They arrive at the murdered girl's house just as Perk Angle is leaving. The girl is confused why the police are back already. They make the connection now that it was Perk Angle who just left. They tell her they'll conduct a thorough search of her flat. Meanwhile, in Perk Angle's trap house, he's slowly moving around and staring out of a window. He eventually pulls a gun out of his coat and slowly empties all of his pockets onto the table. Then there's a jarring cut into another room. Kurt is talking to himself in the mirror and saying how handsome he is.
Oh, you're a handsome devil.
He rips some skin off his face. I guess it was a fat suit or something. He looks disappointed, like he preferred how he was when he was fat. These characters are so boring. A cop slowly explains his day to his wife. She sounds like a complete bitch. He's just made it home at 1 AM and he's tired, and she's just like, oh, why not just cut corners in your job like everybody else does?
I don't see why you don't just work the system like everyone else.
We meet a new character now. Some mobster guy is talking to his driver about a girl who was murdered. I assume he's the sugar daddy from earlier. He is nervous, I guess because he's dodgy. I'm falling asleep here. The cops talk to the dead girl's dance class teacher now. Do we really need to see the full ins and outs of their boring investigation? The dance teacher doesn't seem too bothered in the slightest about her murder, despite apparently knowing her since she was 12 years old. He's not a fan of the girl's roommate. The cops ask if he has an alibi. He doesn't, and the cops casually tells him it's a good possibility that he's now a suspect. In a cafe, the mobster crew are forming a plan. They're going to get the boy in the beanie to break into the girl's apartment and clear out anything that relates to the mobster boss. He agrees to pay him $1,000 for the job. What a cheapskate. Back at the girl's apartment, a dumbass cop has been told to watch the girl's place, but he starts getting hungry and wanders into a nearby restaurant. At the apartment, Jenna Morasca is very scared when she hears a break-in. The front door half opens, the guy drops his screwdriver into her apartment, and then Jenna Morasca stabs him in the hand with it. She runs off to call the police. We next see them arresting him at the apartment. Wait, how did they catch him so quick? Why was he just chilling there waiting for them to come? I know he was stabbed, but it was just in the hand. Could he not have run off? Jenna Maraska moans that she was not guarded properly. The police tell her that if she notices anything else to tell the officer downstairs. Sly comment from Jenna here when she says,
"Oh, is he going to be there this time?"
We now skip to the murdered girl's funeral. This film is crying out for some damn action at this point. Angle is here dressed up in a geek costume. The officers force him to hand over his ID in the middle of the funeral. Angle hands something to him, but then an old lady faints at the front of the funeral, and Angle uses that as a chance to run away. What was his plan if that old lady hadn't fainted? And more to the point, what is he even trying to achieve by stalking a dead woman? We head over to a new motel now. Boring conversation with the hotel manager. Boring scenes of Angle inspecting his motel room. Think I'm going to fall asleep. Angle looks like Maven here for some reason. Boring scene of Angle yet again staring at himself in the mirror. Back in the mobster's car, Angle is now in there with him. He's questioning the old sugar daddy. Angle says that he knows the old man was getting it off with the girl, and he wouldn't want his wife to know. Angle says he knows the sugar daddy isn't the murder suspect, because it was him, and he stabs the old man. What a dramatic moment that was. The mobster's driver is questioned by the police now about his boss being killed. Angle has sneaked into his own apartment, paranoid that the police are watching. He recovers all the naughty photos he's been taking. Angle decides to speak to one of the detectives on the phone. He threatens him and brags that he's at his apartment right now. Angle makes a big fire in the apartment while smiling happily. The police are very upset that they may now have lost the killer, but they still think they can somehow get DNA from the burnt apartment. Is that really a thing? The detective visits Jenna Maraska and tells her about the burnt apartment. He tells her that the killer actually lived just down the street from her. Jenna asks how her friend was murdered in the first place.
She was suffocated during sex.
Jenna gets annoyed that he even told her. Well, why fucking ask then? These characters are so bland. They all look white as ghosts. Jenna Maraska speaks to her old ballet dancer. He wants to hire her to his little company to replace her dead friend. He also wants her to quit being a stripper and to just work for him. Angle's walking out of an elevator. He has a conversation about this being his final day at work. Who cares? Why on earth do we need to see this? What work? It was never established that he lived a normal life alongside being a serial killer. The dancing girls have a conversation with Jenna Maraska about quitting her stripping job. It's not as exciting as you might have hoped. Main event Mafia Perk Angle is with the woman from work earlier. He's in her house now. She has 2 bottles when Perk Angle starts seducing her. She reacts like she's had zero male attention for 20 years. I think she really needed this. It's like when the hawk visits your girl. Does anyone else just feel weird watching Angle act like this? It's not how you want to view your heroes. After they do the deed, she tells Angle that her husband died in the Iraq War. Angle looks like he's on the verge of passing out from boredom. He's in the zone. He refuses to talk to her as some weird churning music starts playing. Angle asks her to do him a favour, but I'm not sure if he's messed up his line because I have no idea what he says next. Someone tell me what he says here. It sounds like "come dance."
Call me Alex. Call me Alex. Call me Alex.
Was this really the best they could have done? For God's sake, do another take. At the Dancing Girls Club, Jenna dances around and we see where she got some of her famous skills from her match with Charmel. A cop enters the club. This slow dancing music that sounds like Usher goes on forever. We get it, she's a fucking dancer and a slut, get over it. We cut to the next day where the detective admits that he was watching her dancing in the club. He reveals he doesn't think about his wife the same way he thinks about her. I don't blame him. He had what the Hawk calls the definition of a bitch wife.
I'm happy where I am right now.
Yeah, you're happy. I didn't marry you for better or worse. Just for better.
Back at his house, the bitch wife has smelt the perfume on his clothes. She doesn't really seem that interested in his potential cheating though, she just gets over it. At a bar, Angle runs into Jenna Maraska. She's moaning that she can't meet a man. She's also bragging about sleeping with the cop. Angle runs into her at the bar. He chats her up and quickly invites her to dinner, but she rejects him. God, she wonders why she's single. The police have now figured out that Angle has probably killed the other woman earlier on. They have surrounded her building with a SWAT team as they think Angle is in there. And he is, but he sneaks out through a back window. What dumbasses! This so-called SWAT team are idiots. Somehow he climbs down a building with a rope. Where did the rope come from? A cop pulls a gun out on him at the bottom, but Angle talks his way out of it and takes the cop out, calling him a pussy.
Pussy.
And just like that, he's escaped. Great SWAT team. They need to go back into training if you ask the Hawk. They find the dead woman's body in the basement of her house. It turns out that Angle has managed to get a date with Jenna. Oh no, they're on a riverboat. Not this again. Haven't we seen enough of Angle by the river? He wants them to become river rats. makes a change from ring rats. The boring cop has a nightmare that Angle has put him in a casket. These sort of vivid dreams is something that the director likes to rely on in his films. I personally wish he wouldn't. Angle rings the cop again and immediately asks him if he's having a bad dream. So Angle now controls his dreams. What the hell? Angle trolls the detective about the murders. Jenna tries to get attention from Angle, but he tells her to go away because he's not in the mood. The detective's wife reveals that she spoke to Angle before on the phone. She says he sounds like a nice, intelligent guy. She is the most hateable wife of all time. In a church somewhere, a vicar reveals that he knew Angle as a kid. He apparently used to play with little girls' dolls. Back at the boat, Jenna seems to be regretting her decision to go on this date. She roots around his boat apartment and finds pictures of all the dead girls. I thought he burnt them in the apartment fire. She has now made the link and she knows that he killed her roommate. Now I like what they do here. They actually try to have her act smart and pack away the photos as if nothing happened. Unfortunately for her though, Angle has noticed and he backhands her. What a backhand it was. She took it like a champion. The police scenes make me wish someone would backhand me. They're unbearable. Things get incredibly strange now. Angle is dressed up as a clown. He sniggers as he walks up to someone's house with balloons. If it were me, I'd literally never open a door to this man. He's holding a kid's hand as a woman walks in. He smacks her one whilst the kid doesn't even react to his mum getting punched. I presume it was his mum anyway. In another room, Angle has a clown tied up and puts the little girl with him. Wait, if the clown's still dressed up, where did Angle get his clown outfit from? The scene completely jumps now. Angle has a kid in a boat. A police officer questions why the kid hasn't got a life jacket. Angle stabs the police officer in broad daylight. Why did the officer have a piece of paper stuck to the back of his hat? What was it, the script? Angle drives off on the boat, and at this point I have absolutely no idea what's going on. Angle is back with Jenna now. He's ready to play with her. The woman who just got punched by Angle is actually the detective's wife. She isn't dead though, unfortunately. She reveals that Angle has taken their child. The detective barely reacts to this news. Someone calls the officer to reveal that he sold Angle a boat. The detective now has a lead. I would have thought all the people who saw Angle stab someone in broad daylight at the docks would have given him the lead he needed. Oh, now the detective borrows a boat, and just like River of Darkness, everyone is out on the water. It even looks like the exact same scenery. Reminds me of the Ozarks. He pretty quickly discovers Angle's boat. He finds Jenna and frees her. Unfortunately for him, Angle sneaks up on him and pulls a gun to his head. The officer has the worst, most emotionless delivery of his lines. He calls Angle a loser. Angle tells him it's time to die, but before he can shoot, Angle is shot through the chest. By guess who? Jenna. No, that would make too much sense, I'm kidding. It was the kid that he kidnapped. The random kid who he kidnapped when he was a clown, and he's shut in the room with the other clown, and then somehow the kid is on the boat again with Angle. I have no idea what's going on here. I swear it's the same kid, they have the same t-shirt on. But either way, what a dumbass. He knew they were on the boat running around freely. As the crime scene is cleared up, helicopters are all heard in the background again, but as this is a low budget film, you don't see them. The officer said it's time for a change of career. He throws his badge to the stripper Jenna Moroska. She smiles with happiness because I guess she's stupid and now she thinks she's a police officer. Well, that was a painful watch. Angle in this role was at least interesting, but there wasn't enough from him and too much from the cops, and they were really boring. And why was Angle so obsessed with this one cop and his family? And why was he obsessed with the girl he murdered at the start? If he had just left all these things alone, he would never have been caught. But no, the director doesn't think these things needed explaining. It just happens because. Why can't they just make it personal, like the cop managed to save this one girl that Angle was about to murder? Angle being stopped could lead him to being obsessed with getting back at the detective. I don't know, I just believe in things needing to happen for a reason. This film was really slow, none of the characters were likeable, and unfortunately I think he was supposed to be cheering for the main copper, who was extremely unlikable. He was emotionless, bland, cheats on his wife, and never does anything cool. The ending really sucked too. Having that random kid kill Angle, I mean the kid doesn't even have a name, so what's the point of the kid killing him? The kid isn't a main character, why wouldn't it be Jenna? But the whole thing goes against the character Angle's supposed to have been playing this whole movie. He's supposed to be this smart killer, yet he forgets there's other people running around behind him who could shoot him in the back. But all that aside, the worst thing for me was the confusion over how the kid got on the boat. In fact, this whole thing bothered me so much that I had to go back and watch the scene again. Now, it is my honest opinion that the editor fucked up, and they put the scene in the wrong order. See, Angle shoves the kid in the room with the clown. It looks like they're on a boat at this point. But then the following scene is Angle taking the kid on a boat. So wouldn't it have made more sense to have Angle kidnapping the kid on the boat, then shoving him in the room with the clown? They screwed up. That is my honest opinion. I can't make any more sense of it. That makes more sense to me this way. Out of the 3 films, this was the worst. It wasn't funny, the characters were all boring and dislikable, it was way too slow, and it showed parts of the investigation that I couldn't care less about. I will go this far though, Angle was okay. I actually found myself rooting for him, but we definitely weren't meant to be doing that. And the reason for that is because he actually showed some charisma and had a character. And that is by no means a sign of the sort of people the Hawk hangs around with. So whilst I gave River of Darkness a 1 out of 10, this was actually worse. I give it a 0.5 out of 10. Simply because River of Darkness had 1 or 2 funny lines, and Angle as a clueless sheriff had some charm in a wacky sort of way. This whole film is available for free on YouTube, but I don't recommend you watch it because it sucks. But you might watch the first minute of the film because it will totally change your perception of Perk Angle forever. And if you don't agree with that, I'll reach the end of my tether.